All right,
Yeah.
because I'm going to bed.
Hello, and welcome to an all new episode of Men and Women Talk, the Mars Venus Show. I am one of your hosts, Kinte, all the way live from Los Angeles, California. Show. Sorry about that. And I am joined by my wonderful co host, the one and only Shannon Ford Jefferson.
Good, good.
How you doing?
Good, good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I feel good. It's a little chilly on the chilly side of the game, but other than that, no, everything is good.
It was chilly. What's the weather like today?
Somebody said it was 60. I'm pretty sure it's colder than that. I don't
I woke
believe
up
that
this
is.
morning and left for work, and it was 54.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's freezing. It feels cold, and oh hey, Dr. Amira's in the house. She talked about her mirror. I'm sorry. Her internet is cold. I mean, her internet is cold. Her internet is working. Where am I talking about?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
Ryan's in the house. What's up, Ryan?
right.
It says Facebook user. It says, hey guys, Facebook user, can you just put your name? I don't know why it's not showing your actual name. But if you could do that for me, I would appreciate it. Man, it's a new year, and I am so happy to be here to
A
chop it up
new,
with you.
and a new month.
And you know what, man? I'm happy. You know, I'm alive. You know, my family's doing pretty well.
Yep.
You know, so we're gonna do it big this year. Jen, hey, what's up, Jen? And Ryan's gonna join us as well.
Hey, Jim girl.
Yeah. So before we get into what the topic of the show is, um, you know, you are famously a writer, right? What's up,
Yeah.
Andre?
Famously a writer?
Famously a writer.
Yep, sure.
And how often do you write?
Not as often as I used to,
I know you're a busy lady. Um, so,
but I try to write something every day.
mhm,
I think for the last maybe 6 or 7 days, I've kind of gotten off of that schedule.
right.
But since the year has started, what are we, 34 days into the new year?
Mm-hmm.
So I probably did 27, 8 days of that.
Oh, okay.
I
All right.
remember.
That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good. Are you one of those people who is mad critical about, you know, your writing? Are you know, no?
No, not really.
Mm-hmm.
And until I see it in print.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Amira, for showing the love. Oh, okay. Well, I'm one of those people that, man, I'm very critical of myself. So, you know, and for good reasons, a lot of times. Sometimes I think I'm being anal, you know, um, past the point of sanity.
Yeah.
And I know there's sometimes, though, like I know a lot of people, right, who they do stuff that's creative and they can't figure out an ending point, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like, at some point you do got to end, right?
Yeah.
There's
I
some,
agree.
right. And I know there's, you know, I've had that problem. I think I'm better at it than I was in the past, you know,
Yeah.
getting to an ending point. So, I don't know. It's something that I'm dealing with in this new year. And, I am, I'm really happy that, that it's something that I'm, work on. Joining us is Brother Ryan or Brand Savant.
What's going on?
Not much, man. We're just talking about being a creative person and, you know, learning how, you know, sometimes you got to end. You work on something, then you got to get to that end point and turn in your work. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of hard when you are kind of a perfectionist. You know, You just like you'll be like, what's that album that Dre's supposed to have done? Detox, where he's still 20 years later, he's like still working on it, you know. So, and then finally, I think he just said, I'm not gonna put it out, you know. So,
I feel you.
But you know, we're gonna get into our topic tonight. But there's another thing too, is there's people who are like they're professional students. They've been at UCLA since '94. You know,
since '94,
right? And not as a teacher, as a student. You know, and it's like, dude, you've been working on your degree for like 20 years. When are you getting this degree? Okay, like, and what are you gonna do with this degree? It's like the field is gonna be gone by the time you get it. You know, it's like it always cracks me up. You know, I mean, on one hand, you got to give them credit for doing it, but at some point, you got to get the rest of your credits and get out of school, man. So, yeah, that's another thing, too. But that's not the topic for today. The topic for the day, and I'm so glad that you wanted to join us because I think this is right up your wheelhouse. It's the first topic of 2020 is how aggressive should we seek love? And, you know, I have a lot of feelings on that, but you know what I like to do, Shannon? I like to paint a picture, right? So let me paint a picture first to you, Shannon, and then to Ryan. Okay.
Listen.
All right. So here's a woman who went to college, right? She got a degree. Once she got that degree, she said, you know what? Another 4 years. Right? So now, you know, she got her second, right? She gets into the job market, right? And yeah, there's guys that pop up, come around, who's interested. Mm-hmm. They want to hook up, right? Mm-hmm. But she's like, you know what? Nose to the grindstone. I'm building something here. So she puts guys off to the side, right? In her 20s. Then she starts working on her career. She gets to her mid-30s, right? She got a nice car. Back in the day, remember, it was the Mercedes-Benz was like the car of the sister that's like upperly mobile. You know, it's like they all had Mercedes, you know. What's the car now, though? What's the car now for the sister that is doing good? She's independent. If you put it in the chat room, what's the sister car of the independent sister? You know, but back in the day, though, it was the Mercedes was. You know, she has a Mercedes, huh?
Whatever she chooses.
Escalade. Remember the Escalade and the Lexus for a minute. But anyway, so she got. And I know a lot of stories like this. She got the nice house. She got the great job, great position. She makes 6 figures. You know, she comes home after a hard day's work, bottle of wine, puts on some Sade, you know, go to sleep by herself. And next day, rinse, wash, and repeat. So now she's 36, 7. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, damn. Give me a Hummer. Hilarious. Jen is hilarious. But now, she's like, man, I really want kids.
Yeah, I mean.
My homegirl, Stacy, she not doing as well as me. She married that mechanic dude. They got 3 kids. Huh?
I said, what's wrong with mechanics? Shout out to mechanics.
No. I look. I don't have no problem with it. I like, a good mechanic is definitely useful, right? So she don't have, you know, she don't have somebody to cuddle up with at night. Maybe back in the day, some of her colleagues she would go out with, have a drink. Maybe, got the high hard one every once in a while, but she never settled down with anybody. So now she's in her mid to late 30s, and now it's like, I have no kids and I don't have really good dating prospects. I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to have a family. And now that ticking time bomb, tick, 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 is going. So now I have a short window. To get it done. Because once you get past, 43, 4, 5, it gets difficult, right? I mean, we can look at Janet Jackson. I hate when people say, well, Janet Jackson did it at 50. Janet Jackson is worth $500 million. She has access to things that we will never have access to. You know what I'm saying? So now it's like, how aggressive should she be in trying to find love to try to settle down at this point? So I'm going to go to you first, Shannon. What do you think? I painted a picture, and I'm gonna paint a picture for a guy too. Don't worry.
I mean, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, if she really is desiring to be with a significant other and have a mate and get married and have children, then she should probably make herself available in terms of going to places where she could meet people who would be worth meeting and engaging them. Because it's one thing to go to a place where you can meet people; it's actually engaging in conversation with them.
Okay. All right. Is there a stigma in your mind, Shannon, of women past 30s or maybe early 40s who maybe love hasn't hit them yet, and now they're actively looking? Do you feel like there's a stigma?
I mean, for some there are, with the biological clock ticking, trying to be like everyone else in their friend circle, or meeting the quota of people who ask over and over again, "Oh, you're not married, you don't have kids," as if something is wrong with her. No, yeah, I think there's a stigma attached to it, but I think how you deal with that is your prerogative. I mean, I couldn't care less what people think as it relates to me being single and childless.
Okay, Ryan, what do you think? How aggressive should she be? I mean, when you're 20, you can be like, oh, it's a bag of seashells. It'll come when it comes. But then once you start getting past a certain age, it's like, do I go looking? Do I shake the tree? And hopefully he'll fall out. What do you suggest?
I don't know if there's anything to suggest. I personally think that if you want it, you'll go looking for it and you'll be aggressive about it. I think that when you're single, there is when you're in your 20s, it's okay,
right?
Because you can go out with friends and stuff like that. But when people start settling down and they have barbecues, you got couples that don't want to invite you because they know you're not with somebody. There's a lot of social constraints that are involved in having someone in your life. And then also, we're not getting any younger.
Right.
It's always nice to have someone around in case something goes wrong. There's a lot of implications. And then, of course, having the goal of having children. I don't know what that's like to have that biological clock ticking, because I'm not a woman.
Right.
But, I think that, there's nothing I could suggest. I think that if you really believe that that's what's going to make you happy, then go after what makes you happy. Although, I guess the contrasting statement would be that you can't rush love,
right?
And we are in a different time. And I keep on saying this because some people are brought up with the ideology that I need to get married or get my education, get good job, buy a house, get married, and all these other things, and they have it all set in place. That's how it was in the 1900s. We're in the 2000s where both women and men, and I've said this on multiple shows, both women and men are equally providing. So the stigma of being in a relationship and having kids and being married, it has changed. Not the stigma, but I guess the tradition of marriage has changed. And, and then women have been rising in terms of, economic growth and status, so there's a larger gap between men and women when it comes to, careers, etc. So then you add those extra levels that are preventing people from getting together. So there's a lot of women that are in power positions that can't find anyone because they can't find someone that relates to them on that level. So you have a lot of pressure. So I think that like you when you add that on top of the pressures of just trying to have someone fall in love with you, it creates a lot of dynamics, right? And some people are willing to lower their standards, some people aren't.
Right. No, very well said. Very well said. Now, I'm not trying to be gross or disgusting what I'm about to say. So, but I really... Oh, Shirley. Hey, Shirley. Ebony, D, Bobby, all in the chat room. I'm not trying to be disgusting what I'm about to say, but I really want to ask this question.
Okay.
Do you think at a certain point, and believe me, we're going to get to the fellas, so I don't want to think that it's just going to be one-sided. We're going to get to the fellas, so, so we're going to get to the fellas. I don't want you to think that it's going to be one-sided about this topic.
Yeah.
So hold on one real quick second. Hey Ryan, just tell everybody quick about your program. Just give me a second.
Okay. My name is Ryan Perez. I am owner and founder of Hustle Zone TV. It's a Black-owned, Black-operated media company. So we do podcasts. We do we make content for Instagram
on my desk
for YouTube, and then we're starting our own website that will be kind of like Netflix.
Yeah, it's in a white thing
for Black and urban content. So and then we'll have a social media network tied to that. So that's pretty much what I do.
All right. And we'll talk more about it, too, as it goes on. And I want to welcome Andre, who came into the chat room as well. So, and recently he's done some great shows. And you had William Hung, She Bang from...
She Bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had William Hung on the show. And, we have a lot of people lined up for the show, people that you've seen on movies. We just locked in someone. I can't say who.
Idris Elba. No, I'm just playing. I hate it when people do that though. They'll be like, "Oh, is it Idris Elba?" Or they'll say this: "If you get Idris Elba on your show, I'll definitely listen to that." I'm like, "Really? Thank you, thanks, bro." So okay, so all right. So I'm not trying to be gross or anything like that, but I'm gonna definitely start with Shannon on this one. Do you feel like when you're a woman...
Time out. I thought we were doing the guy part now.
No. We're going to get to that, but I wanted to cover this before we move on to the guy part. So, oh my God, really? No. So, okay. So this woman that we've painted a picture for, who is looking for love, right? She's really looking for love. She's looking to settle down. Does she do herself a disservice by having a friend that handles business when she needs it?
if she's serious about being with somebody, then yeah.
Oh, okay. So can you talk to why you would believe that might hinder her pursuit?
I mean, because does it stop once she gets in a serious relationship? Does she share this information with this person that she's engaged with in terms of conversation and then dating? Because that's what the goal is. I think if you're going to be serious about moving into a relationship with someone, you should cut the ties with everybody else. I mean, you can't receive anything with a closed fist.
Right. And I'm gonna get to what you feel like, Ryan. I look, you grown, you could do whatever you like, but sometimes freezer.
But grown choices come with grown consequences.
Right. Like if you want some freezer penis, cool. But sometimes I feel like it can be a crutch too, because look at Ryan's face. Because what happens is, instead of looking, like, you'll fall back on something that's kind of easy, you know. And this is not no condemnation of, don't think I'm doing that. I totally understand if you have an itch that needs to be scratched, but that could be an issue, like when you're really looking for to try to settle down, you know, and it could be a crutch. So sometimes those people that we use, or I don't want to say we use, but we have in that aspect of our life, a lot of times. Right, they end up they end up being like a roadblock to you really getting what you really need, because they can provide one aspect of a relationship, but they can't give you anything else. Like I said, when you're in your 20s, your 30s, I understand, but you know, at a certain point, I wonder though. And please speak in the chat room what you think about it, and I'll read your comments. What do you think, Ryan? Do you think that could be a hindrance to when you have it in the freezer?
You know what you have is what you have, and I think that you know, the grass looks greener on the other side, but you know what? We can't tell the future, and sometimes people will keep on letting people go in their lives instead of developing relationships with the person that they're with. They'll let people go and then end up single, and then just kind of price themselves out in the market, you know, because you there's a point where you get too old to go to the club.
Right.
You know, you get too old to, you know, there's just certain, like, the avenues and venues start to shut down.
Right.
So, you know, if you have someone in your life that cares about you but may not be your first pick, you know, you can't make them your first pick. You're just going to have to find ways of working around it. It's like, you know, there's no set rule
right
to this, but you know, you are with, you know, sometimes you have to kind of have to figure it out. You have to figure out where you place yourself in the marketplace, because like in the dating marketplace, you just have to know yourself, because I mean, and you know, and if you have someone that likes you, you know, take care of them, build the relationships, because no matter what, even if you find the person that checks all the things off your list, they may not be the right person for you. They may be abusive or what have you. Right. You still have to develop a relationship no matter who it is. So, you know, and that's what we forget, because like I went to relationships counseling for the first time in my life, and I realized that relationships are deep. If you just want to mess around with somebody, you mess around with them.
Right.
But when you actually want to get to know a person and know their aspirations, and you have to negotiate between what you want and what they want to build a partnership. Yeah. So, you know, I just think that you don't just drag someone off the street and be with them, because once you invest time in them, it's really hard to you know, there are constraints.
You better say that again.
What up, Anthony? I haven't talked to Anthony in a minute.
Moan Cricket.
Yeah. What's up, Anthony? We got to chop it up, man. Okay, so we'll go back to the freezer, but we'll talk about it in another aspect.
I go back to the freezer
in another aspect. All right, so I'm gonna paint the picture. For those who don't know, the name of this episode is called "How Aggressive Should We Seek Love?" We talked about the ladies. Now we're going to talk about the guys. So I'm about to paint a picture. Hopefully Ryan will be there, because I was going to set it up for Ryan first. But all right, I'll start painting my picture. All right, so we got a gentleman, right? And he is very successful with the ladies, right? Mm-hmm. So he's having a good time, man. He's out there, he's in the streets, right? He's enjoying his different ladies, girlfriends, whatnot, in his 20s. He's sowing his oats, right? Not worried about, he's keeping it, he's keeping everything tight because he's not getting anybody pregnant, right? And let's say he's pretty successful at whatever he does. Is this about me? Hilarious. You know what? Low key, I guess. Low key, right? So this brother gets in his 30s, hasn't settled down. He watches homeboys get married young. Maybe he's like, I want to do it, but not right now. And then now this brother is now gotten in his 30s. I said 30s, his mid 30s. Now he's creeping up on his 40s. And now he's like, dang, I ain't got no legacy. I ain't got no kids. I ain't got no wife. Okay, I want to settle down. So I'm a man who's successful, right? So it should be easy, right?
Sure.
It should be easy. I'm handsome, I got swag to me. Man, I'm about to, 2018, I'm about to give me a wife. 2018 go by. Says it about me again. 2018 go by. Wait a minute. Dang, none of these relationships are going nowhere. 2019 go by. None of these relationships are going nowhere. Nobody I want to settle down. So now he's like, I don't want to be 50 with a 1-year-old. So it's like, should I just I'm about to be a single father. So Ryan, should brother man aggressively continue to seek love? Should he, should he just, hey man, it's going to happen. I'm a handsome, successful guy, right? A wife is going to fall out of one of these trees. I keep shaking them. So what do you think?
Get a dating coach.
Really? Get a dating coach?
But to be honest with you, I think like you can find anyone anytime. You got to go to church, you got to be in social gatherings, and you got to build. The problem is a lot of us don't build relationships with the people that we know. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be friends with them, and if so there's like this fine line between relationship and friendship, and it seems like these don't cross. And people when you see someone that likes you or likes your pictures, you enforce yourself on them, and you don't really develop those relationships. And a lot of these dudes don't know how to develop relationships, because you got to think, we like how we used to pick up women is different now.
Oh, big time.
We could just I remember there was this nice girlfriend. Her name was Nicole.
Not at church.
I saw her on the train station, and I was like, I had bandana, I had contacts in and everything, and I was like, what's up? And those days have gone. You can't just holla all the time anymore, right? So, things have changed. So I think that for these brothers, they don't know how to talk and how to build a relationship. They don't know how to send a message on Tinder and how to, to pique interest and stuff. So, I mean, brother, because again, I think that you should, I don't think people should be alone, right. But I do think that people should be actively looking. But at the same time, what I would recommend, and what I've thought of even for myself, is get involved. Yeah. Get into because there's nothing that, from what I heard, women is a guy that has his stuff going on, right? And it doesn't matter if he's a golfer or he's into soccer, but has some sort of passion, and he doesn't look like a loser that's just, online waiting for his woman to come around, but a guy that's actively in his lifestyle, because you're most likely going to meet someone in the things that you're into, right? Like having some sort of passion.
Mm-hmm.
But things have changed. Like you are going to be associated. Like the older we get, we're not going to have those opportunities to holla 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 holla.
Right.
And you're just going to have to learn to build relationships with people and see where it goes.
Oh, you can jump in, Brother Anthony. I'll send you the link. It's a little different because I don't think he's been on this.
No,
I don't know if I made any sense.
No, you made great sense, and I think you just got to click that link that I just sent you, Anthony. And
in Chrome,
she said, "I never dated a man just because he had a hobby." And she said the problem is that men think. Let me pull it back up on the screen. The problem is that men think they have all the time in the world and relish the bachelor lifestyle. That's definitely was me. They don't value marriage or long-term relationships, and even when they realize they want to settle down, they can't change their mindset. No, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And it's hard, though, it's hard because once you get, you do kind of, like, marriage scares me. Or it scared me, I should say.
Like, you still scared?
No. I'm talking about, because it seemed like all my buddies who were married were miserable, And I just, that was one of the things, right? And so, but now the idea of being married or having a family and stuff, it's beautiful, right? So yeah, my mindset has definitely changed, big time. So, I don't know. I just, it's one of those things, Stephanie is right though, because, I definitely didn't want to do it when I was in my 20s. Okay. So let me ask this question too, to you, Ryan. Does the, wait, hold on a second. Let's get this first. Andre says, or men that value marriage don't rush into marrying the wrong person. Interesting. Right. So we talked about the penis in the freezer. When you're actually really looking for, to settle down and all that, does the coochie in the freezer, do you think that could possibly,
what?
The coochie in the freezer?
Jesus.
Do you think that hurts men in their process of settling down if you have a bunch in the freezer that you can go to at any time? Do you think that hurts at a certain age?
It's a mess.
What do you mean it hurts? Can you clarify that question?
When I say hurts, it's like
that's a horrible analogy anyway, but
coochie in the freezer?
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect. He said, I believe that, Andre. Men also give off the vibe that they're waiting for the next thing. For women like me, that's a turnoff. No, what I'm saying is, if you're really looking, like sometimes when you're looking, you're saying to yourself, I want this specific thing, but then you do something that is not in league with that, right? Mm-hmm. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, it's I think, to be honest with you,
mm-hmm.
just listen to, like, if you replay back what you just said,
mm-hmm.
I'm looking for this thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we have, like, because I think for men, we just have this object in our head of what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, she needs to have thick thighs and this and that. We, like, at least I did. I can speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had this idea, but like I said before, it's like, I think that when you get down to it, when it comes to relationships, deep down inside, we know what we want is not necessarily what we need in our life. You know what I mean? And we will find someone that may not be on that list that will satisfy those needs, and and so on and so forth. But I think when it comes to people and relationships, it's hard to objectify how people get connected, because you're connected with someone because you're connected with them some through some way, whether you have a good conversation with them or, you know, they just cook you really good food or whatever it is, it's human. Everything about it is human. And we just forget that because we have these ideas. Maybe we watch too much, like, you know, television or porn or whatever. And we have these ideas of what our mates are supposed to be. And, you know, but in real life, people are not like that. Like, you know, our partners are not like that of what we envision. You know, sometimes you just have to let love.
Let me ask Anthony. I'll put it in a different way besides the coochie in the freezer. Okay,
I was like, explain that to me. Why is it in the freezer?
Well, you can take it out whenever you want and then just put it back in the freezer until you're ready to.
You gotta thaw it out. Bro.
Yeah, you just thaw it out. Right. So what I was basically saying is, once you get to a certain age and you haven't been married yet, or you haven't had kids, or it's something that you're looking to do, if you have too much of that, because we said penis in the freezer for a woman, if like, does that hinder you at a certain point? Because it almost seems like it's like a fallback, like, you know, like a safe space, right? So should you be singularly focused, like, okay, I'm looking for what I'm looking for as far as a mate, so I'm not going to do these side missions. You know, I'm trying to beat Grand Theft Auto. I'm not trying to play the side missions. Does that make sense?
Kind of. So what's the question?
Like, I mean, do you feel like at a certain point that maybe if you have a bunch of, you know, side missions, you know, lined up, that maybe it might be in some way hurting your chances at really settling down because you have so many things else?
I don't know. I feel like, man, it's always it's a couple things that I've seen. It's a meme that I saw one time recently that said that you won't find your soulmate until you let go of your playmates. So I heard that, and I'm just like, I can see where they were going with it. I don't know if I completely agree. And then Chris Rock said, hold on.
Roll that tape back. You don't completely agree?
I don't know if I can if like you won't find your soulmate, because you might find your soulmate might have been the playmate. And it's like, oh, this is something deeper than what we were just playing with. Huh?
Was your soulmate your playmate?
That's a good question. Tune in next time.
Okay.
So, the other thing Chris Rock said, you know, the prolific Chris Rock said that it's always a brother in the woodpile.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like, whether you have the breaking case of emergency or not, on either side, I feel like there's somebody waiting in the wings for you to either realize who they are, you know what I mean, or who they want to be in your life, or, you know, waiting for you to make a decision on who it is that you want to be with. So I don't really know if it's a thing of, I think the reserve is necessary just to, now how active you are with that reserve. I mean, you got fire extinguishers, but how often do you use a fire extinguisher in your house?
That's true.
So
that's true.
Just because you have that reserve don't mean you activate it. And I mean, there's always somebody that's waiting in the wings. You know what I mean? Waiting to take advantage of the space that you may open up for them. So I don't really know if that hinders your progress as far as getting finding your soulmate, and that's a soulmate is a whole other conversation. So finding love, whether or not you should pursue it aggressively, I don't really feel like you should, or anybody should at that point.
Well, a term I've used before on the show, and I'll use it again, is the ghost of dick pass, where, and you could use that the same thing for guys, the ghost of vagina pass, where it's like always hovering around in the mid. You know, you at some point you're gonna need a priest with some sage to get rid of it. You know, and sometimes that dick in the glass or coochie in the freezer sometimes can kind of hover. It kind of hovers like, you know, like that, you know, it follows, you know, like it just, you know, kind of just stakes around. And I really feel like in not all situations, but in a lot of situations, I think sometimes it does hinder, because sometimes I feel like you do got to break loose of that sometimes. I've felt like I had a situation like that in the past, and I think that was holding me back. Well, you could say I'm not married now, so maybe it didn't work. Maybe I should have just kept it. But, you know, but I don't know, man. Like, it's something to think about, though, because I think some people who you may bump uglies with, you know, you got to really think about, like, are they really good for you to continue to do that with? You know what I mean? I mean, you may enjoy it, like on a physical.
You thought about that before you bumped uglies with them. Like, if you're not setting boundaries right from the jump, and you're associating yourself with people, then that says a lot about your self-esteem. And, you know, I said it in the comments, like, when you treat people, especially women, like playthings, like men, we can go, like the dick in the glass case, that's a metaphor for us, because we'll stick around, we'll wait for some ass, for some TNA, right? We'll wait. Women don't, you know, like, after a while, she'll come up to your doorstep with some food. She'll be like, "Hey, baby, I cooked you some food." She'll be showing up at your work and start adding all your friends. And she already got you locked down. So you can't just go and randomly just keep on, you know, because especially if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in the bedroom really good, she's not going to leave you alone.
Right.
So, like, you can't just play with people's hearts and lead them on that way, because you're going to get yourself in trouble.
I don't think it's a thing of leading people along, because if you set the boundaries, as you aforementioned, that eliminates the playing with people. I think one of the issues that I've come across is that people aren't individually emotionally responsible. Mm-hmm. They're also not emotionally intelligent. And so even for interactions that I've had, let's say in 2019, some of them, my foresight allowed me to I guess, the vision to see who was not emotionally responsible. So therefore, in order for me to not find myself in a precarious position, I now have to not only be emotionally responsible for myself, but also for this woman, because what she says versus her actions, you know, they contradict. Mm-hmm. And so I had to make there was a situation where I had to refrain or decline, and I declined for a good year and a half, and I still don't think she really has gotten the message. But because she stated that she would have been okay with a, you know, physical engagement, mm-hmm. and I saw otherwise, then I had to really retract my penis from the equation, because you say this, but I can already see, based on these little things that you're trying to mask, you're trying to, I guess, potentially rope me in. Right. And if you rope me in is contradicting the boundary that I've set in the beginning, well, like, you don't not listening, you don't care what it is that I have to say or how I feel, you're disregarding, you know, my thought process or my emotional process, and it also ultimately becomes selfish. So while I could have very well within my own right continue to engage in the physical, you know what I mean, sex with her, it wouldn't have been responsible on my behalf, because I saw what it was going to end up leading up to. So right. I think that emotional responsibility is a very, very large key as far as when it comes to not playing with people, because it's two sides to that coin. You know what I mean? So
right. Before we continue, I wanted to say something. I haven't told this part to Shannon. We're actually, if you're able to, I would like to start 15 minutes early next week, because at 7 p.m., which is an hour later, we're going to have a special conversation with Dr. Vibe and me, and a panel. And the topic is going to be part one of, does Christianity interfere with Black empowerment? It's going to be part one, all male panel. And the following week, it's going to be all female panel that Shannon will be on. So, as well as others.
It starts at 7?
Yeah, it's going to be an hour later. That
the only show on Monday, yes?
No, we're going to do, we're doing the placeholder girlfriend/boyfriend next week.
What time is that?
It'll be 15 minutes early, so it'll be 5:45. So, huh?
Can it be 5:30?
Sure, yeah, we can do that for sure.
Great.
So it's gonna be a good one, though. We have a great panel too, an excellent panel. So, and we're gonna, so it's gonna be a good one. Okay, so let's get back to it. The topic is, how aggressive should we seek love? one thing that I notice, and y'all can jump in if you agree, people do this. I don't want to just put it as when you get past 35 or 40. People do this also when they're in their 20s as well. But I seem to see it a lot when, people that are like around my age or slightly younger or a little bit, in that wheelhouse, is the whole jumping the gun. And jumping the gun, I'll paint a picture. A guy meets Shannon, starts dating Shannon. He starts dating Shannon, and then he starts dating Shannon, and like within like a week or two, he's just like, she's it, tag, she's it. And he wants to start, he's like, why are we bullshitting? He wants you to get rid of Tinder. He wants you to, he's already.
You ain't, and you can fill in the blank.
Yeah, and look, it could be the same way. A woman she starts going out with Ryan or Anthony, and he's like right away. She's like, "Oh, you're what I need." Insert man here. It's
story to tell. All right, go ahead.
My one thing I hate is the whole insert man here. It's like she got her picture painted with her and everything else she want, and then the only thing is like an outline, almost like that Facebook thing when you don't have a profile picture, and all she needs to put is your image there to have her picture painted. And dudes do the same thing, so I'm just using that as an example. So jumping the gun. So go ahead, Free.
So speaking of jumping the gun, now I feel like there's two sides to that story. Time knows or love knows no time or distance,
right,
and things of that nature. Because I guess maybe two stories.
Okay.
Or two examples. There's one though. Since I recently moved to Savannah, I've been here about a month and a half, and because I moved down here, I've never been on any of like the dating apps or anything like that. So I'm new here. I don't know people. I don't really know what there is to do. I'm not a bar hopper type person or whatever. So let me jump on these apps and see, was it Tinder and Bumble and Black and whatever else was out there, POF, but I got rid of that quickly. So I had met, apparently on Tinder there's a thing super like. I unintentionally super liked because I was learning the app and
right.
I'm like, I don't know how to take this back. So she hit me up, you know what I mean? But and it wasn't that I wanted to like, but I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I like your ass a whole lot. So we talked, text a couple times here and there or whatever. So I'm like, let's meet up for lunch. Because of everything going on in society, the world, and all that, I'm like, let's pick a public place. We go out, whatever. The conversation prior to us meeting in person was relatively fluid. It was decent, nothing really, mind blowing. But I'm like, all right. So I get there. I'm early. So that's a notable thing because my punctuality is something I'm still working on. But I'm early. She gets there. First of all, the place she picked, because I don't know the area. I'm like, well, what's somewhere good for lunch? And she picks Moe's. I always call it Moe's Soup Kitchen. So we had Moe's Soup Kitchen. And we sitting in there. Then we talk. And it was, she gave me pretty much her girlfriend/wife resume.
Oh, wow.
And again, it was not, I'm just curious, picking the brain a little bit, but we didn't really get into a very in-depth conversation. She was on her lunch break, took an extended lunch so that we could meet or whatever the case is. So, all right, cool. Well, we leave, we part ways. I go back to my respective domicile at the time. And as a matter of fact, I don't even know, I had just signed my lease the day before she and I met. And it's important to know, too. So I get back to where I am, and I get a text message. She was like, yo, look, I just want to go ahead and put it out there. What do you think about dating exclusively? Not a relationship, but where we just date each other, and, we get to know each other and do these other things like that. And I'm like, well, that sounds like a relationship to me. But I'm like, which I don't like. The idea of exclusive dating is not an issue for me. But I was like, hey, let me move here first. Let me settle in because I don't even live. Like I literally just signed my lease like a day or 2 days prior to it. It can't even dry on the digital paper. Like slow down. But then she ended up telling me more in the phone conversation that day, and I'm like, oh no, you're a eager diva. And it was just some other things about it. Like she had a 4-month-old. I'm like, yo, is your box healed up yet? Like you got a fresh, brand new baby. What you mean? Where is this man that you know what I mean? She's divorced and all that. And so while I don't feel like it was necessarily, she didn't say anything really out of the way as far as her desire to date exclusively, but I don't feel like we had enough conversation or interaction to where that was a quality decision. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, though, very, very unexpectedly, I was introduced to someone, and after that introduction, within a month's time, it felt like it had been at least like a year, and not in a bad way. Like when I assessed what the time frame was, like I was essentially kind of like all in. So it's just like the time frame really happens, or this is really jumping the gun is determined on the connection that's made.
Right.
To where it may be premature for one person and, right spot on for the next. So it's really just an individual gauge. Like, there's no real barometer for what's too fast and what's too slow.
Interesting.
In other words, that was translated, that long story was translated into Julia, first chick. You ain't got nothing on the other chick.
I don't even talk to Julia, whatever that is. Like since then, I don't even talk to her anymore because I know she was. What she told me is that she felt like she was born to be a mother and a wife, and I'm like, you don't want to do nothing else with your life. Like, I mean, I get wanting to be those things, but like you ain't got no hopes, dreams, and aspirations, no goals. So,
I bet her sweet tea is probably amazing.
I don't know. She had a jiggly fat on her arm.
Oh, okay.
Probably was trash.
But what's up, Sam? Sam Teague is in the chat room, as well as Tracy came in as well. Yes. I remember Mos Def famously met a woman and told her in the first 5 minutes of meeting her that he wanted to marry her. And he married her, and it was a $7 million mistake. So.
But I feel like, it can cost you, but love is a gamble regardless, because what are you putting on her? You're trusting somebody that you don't know to be the person that would allow you to hold that space for them, and them hold this space for you, for that vulnerability, for that transparency, for that development of love. And I think that it can work. Even the whole love at first sight, I think that's a real thing. Now, what you do with that is really predicated on, circumstances and things of that nature. But it may have been a mistake for him, but it also could have been something that they could have worked out. We don't really know that.
Right. And he has a great song about that called "You Are the One." So this idea of locking somebody up, right? I'm locking it down. I'm sorry, not locking it up, locking it down. My bad. He's like, no, that's what I do for a living. Locking someone up. My bad. Locking someone down. Like you hear people that they'll confess that that's what they want to do pretty early. You're at Cracker Barrel with this person, and they're like, look, I want to lock you down. I don't know if I've ever just like right off the rip or somewhere in early stages just was like, 5 minutes, right? But
I'm with stuff on that too.
Yeah. You can't feel like somebody is the one immediately and still take time to get to know them. Amen.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you gotta develop. You know how the cake going. When you look at the box, you know how the cake gonna turn out, but you still gotta take the process of putting all the ingredients right so it can bake to perfection.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. That was good. Yeah. But So locking someone down, right? So Ryan, I see you kind of like, now I don't want to say a shark because that sounds like it's an insult, but like a lion, like a what's something in the Serengeti, you see your prey, you chase it down, you put that death grip on it, and then you bring it back to the cave.
Gives you that vibe.
I said you're happening right now.
He said you're a go-getter.
Yeah, there you go. So the idea of locking it down, right? I like her. She's good. She's what I want. So I need to lock this down. Like, I ain't bullshitting. I know it's been a week. So who cares? I'm like Donald Trump. I make decisions like that.
I did that already.
Uh-huh.
I did that already.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 20, I don't know, 20-something, 25 or around that age, I met, I knew my child's mom, and, she was dancing in my rap video, and I was watching.
Oh, nice.
I had a rap video at the time. Never came out, but we rented this this bar. It was empty. It was called Roadhouse or something like that. Anyway, so she's on the stage and she's dancing, and my sister brought her, and I was looking at her like, damn, I want her.
Right.
And and then when I was working, I was selling cell phones. She walked past me and she was in nice, like, her boobs were pushed up. She was wearing nice, like, she had leather pants on and she was on high heels. She walked in. And, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I went for it. We went on a date. And then 3 days in, because I think I was dating like 3 girls at the time.
Oh, use a pimp.
Well, at the time, like,
use a pimp.
Things have changed. Things have changed. But, like, at the time, I was dating 3 girls at the time. And 3rd day in, I said, you know what? I don't want anybody else. And, we had Malcolm and whatnot, but that was then. What I realized from that situation, though, we were wrong for each other because we just grew apart. So I just learned just through over the years, because I think I am the worst at because I have so much going on. I don't want to date all the time. I don't want to go on Tinder all the time. So when you show all the qualities that I like or something, I'm immediately just like, I'll make a deal. And that has always put me in the bad situation.
He's like Shark Tank.
Right, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it put me in let's make a deal. It put me in a really bad situation. So I just learned over time, just through maturity, even if they have the qualities, take your time, because like I've been put in a lot of bad situations because of me falling head over heels.
Well, you know what they say in dominoes: study long, study wrong.
Right, they say that in life. Right.
So maybe maybe he's right. They said, oh, he wants to know what you mean by deal. Let's make a deal.
No, it's just a metaphor.
Metaphor. I thought so. Yeah.
We're not like people, especially these shows. Everyone takes every word literally, but it was just like, I just want you. Like, I just want you.
He's not what's his name, Richard Gere in Pretty Woman. It's like he ain't making them kind of deals.
Let's make a deal.
Right.
But when you find, like, I don't know, I get really excited because I'm a sapiosexual, right? So like when you start talking certain ways, my gears start running. I'm like, I want more of that.
Right.
And that's just my tendency, but I just think over time, I've just learned to calm down.
Can you be too cynical when it comes to love? Like,
hell yeah.
Like, all the signs are there that this person's right, but then in your head you have this thing that's just like, I don't know, I gotta keep waiting for more signs. God didn't put a neon sign right in front of you, this is the person, but then you're like, I don't know. Maybe it was meant for my neighbor, the sign. I don't know.
Yeah, you can be too cynical.
Uh-huh.
You can actually, pretty much, I'll make this word up, synthesize yourself right out of, your blessing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but if you're fortunate enough, you'll find somebody that, or you'll engage with somebody that can see that in you and has, I guess, the appropriate amount of patience to allow you to kind of work your way out of that. Now, there's got to be an active effort to work yourself out of that cynicism. And then some people like, a challenge. I found myself in a similar situation where there was where there was, this woman was, to a degree, cynical, but I think some of it was just self-preservation mode. You know what I mean? Like, because of all the different things that she has seen or experienced herself or by proxy. It just caused you to look at things with a side eye. But I don't think that she was so cynical to the point where she wasn't willing to take the risk. Her risk was just much more calculated. And I think as you get older, it's the risk assessment. You know what I mean? What is worth really putting this time and effort and energy into? And what am I looking at? Is this, and being able to actually see the red flags in present as opposed to hindsight, and deciding whether or not this is something I am able to continue to work with them on, or work through it with them on, or it's a deal breaker. So
I think that the cynicism is not arbitrary. I feel like it's something relative to someone you dated that was your all and everything, and that relationship didn't work. So you carry that cynicism into new relationships because you're like, okay, that my last one was the greatest, and now you're looking at people and you're judging them on everything that they do. I think that because I've just noticed that. I noticed that within myself. I've noticed it with people, and a lot of the people that I know that are single now, like, for example, there was this one girl that I know that was single. I didn't realize, and she, like, anytime on Facebook, she would post memes, single life, like really dark memes.
Right, yeah.
I'd be looking at her like, what's going on with her, right? And, I thought she liked me. I wasn't sure. I was kind of like, trying to see where it was at, but I just think that her heart was set. But then I realized that her boyfriend had died.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I think that when you love somebody and you've loved someone, it's really hard to move onward to find, someone new, because that person fulfilled everything in your life. And or maybe you have a standard in mind, but I think a lot of cynicism comes from past experiences. And it's really, once it's hard for you to, because everybody else, that person was A, everybody else is a B and C. How does someone not be cynical?
Right.
Being emotionally responsible. That's how you not be cynical. You actually taking the time to heal and take inventory on where you are. That's how you avoid being cynical, or grow from it. I won't say avoid from it, because I do agree that a lot of cynicism is warranted. So I'm not saying that it's not a real thing, or that it is not the effect to the cause. However, how do you get past anything? How you get up after you fell off your bike as a kid and ride the bike again? You got to make a decision consciously to get up even through this pain. And as you're going through the healing process, now I know how to not fall off this way. Maybe I'll fall off another way. But again, it goes that it's nothing is foolproof. It's not without the risk, you know what I mean? But it's the risk reward, great risk and great reward type thing. So, and again, you make calculated risk. Okay, what is this? How much am I putting in here? What is my return, my ROI, my return on investment? Am I really seeing something? You know what I mean? And that's when I think that's how you get out of it. Because I've definitely been jaded. I mean, after my marriage, I was jaded for a minute. But I took the time to really, yes, you can have a healthy amount of cynicism and skepticism. And I think maybe more so skepticism than cynicism. But yeah, after my marriage, I was jaded, and I didn't really feel like it was something that I wanted to, or even was a good candidate to be a part of that particular framework. But after going through my own just personal inventory and taking responsibility over why the marriage was brought to its demise, then I started to be able to see some things in a different light and be able to grow or build off of that. That's that foundation, or that build out of that rubble. You know what I mean? Because that was a castle that was built that was torn to pieces, and so now I'm here again trying to figure out how I'm going to move forward. But I can learn a lot from my past experiences in the positive, the same way I can, in a negative manner.
Yeah, that I'm very hesitant when it comes to somebody who just got out of a long-term relationship or a marriage or something like that. That rebound thing is real, and that's something that I definitely, because you end up becoming the bridge for the next person, and we're actually going to kind of talk about that next week in the episode called the placeholder boyfriend / girlfriend. But I don't know, like, I, as someone who's 43 years old, who's put a premium on settling down at this point, who's never been married or had kids, and I know a lot of people who are similar to me, men and women. I don't really have the pressure that maybe some women may feel, as far as maybe from an outside source, like my family saying, you got to settle down. I mean, my mother may joke about it here and there, but it's no pressure really. But I'm putting pressure on myself to a certain degree, like I said, I don't want to be 50 with a 1-year-old, and everybody talking about, oh, your grandbaby, look, he cute, and I'm like, that's my son. I don't want to go through that, and I want to be there, as long as it's possible for my child too. My dad was 45 when he had me, by the way. I wasn't his only child. I was his, the last one that he had. So, and at the time when he had me in 76, it was like, man, you having another kid? Like, it was like a deal, and, my mother was 35. I just kind of said her age, but anyway, don't tell her.
Yeah. Won't. Or the rest of the internet won't either.
Right. She was 10 years younger than my pops. And, so. Huh?
So you just told his age too?
Well, I mean, my dad didn't care. It's funny. This is so funny. I didn't know how old my mom was for a long time, like her age. And then somebody said something about him being, I knew my dad's, but not my mother's. And someone said, was having a conversation, and somehow, oh, Taisha, how you doing, Taisha? Someone said that something about them being 10 years apart. And then that's when I started doing the math, and I finally realized how old my mom was. It was like a big deal at the time, knowing what my mother's age was. But I digress. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've put some pressure on myself. Not pressure though. I don't want to say it like that, but more like an end date. Like, all right, if I don't have a kid by 45, I ain't doing it. Which could change. I know it can change. The marriage thing, I think there's no, stop talking, Kinte. The marriage thing though is different. I don't have an end date for marriage, but definitely, I don't know. I don't want to have a kid past a certain age. But then who knows? It could change.
You can go out and shoot the clubs up now. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. Find you a nice club that you want to shoot up. You know what I mean? Go ahead, get your bad plumber's license, and handle your business.
You know what? I remember though, not to make everything sad, but I remember when my pops passed away in 2013, and he was sick. He was sick for a long time, And I remember it dawning on me that I would never have a grandson to introduce to my pops, right? And that shit hurt me, right? Because I never even thought about it. I was like, it just dawned on me that even if, and I had a girlfriend at the time, right? And I was like, I didn't know how much time my dad had, because he at that point. And I remember just going through a weird emotion, wanting to have we should have a kid right now. Hopefully that the kid will at least be able to be in pictures with my father, right? And kudos to her, because I know I was on one at that point, and she just kind of she didn't say no or anything. She was just like, yeah, okay, because I guess she probably figured that would pass, Yeah. And because I kind of lost my mind, it's just like it popped on me, like, oh my God, so, that's the one thing I had to regret. Then I started thinking, why did I live life so careful? Maybe I should have been reckless. Maybe I should have.
Honestly, I can't lie. I've had some similar thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I've since come to a more clear frame of mind.
Amen.
But I've thought about that and it's not that far. Those thoughts aren't that far away, because I'm 36, 37. Mm-hmm. I'll be 37 this year. I have friends who maybe aren't married. They've had their children either right after high school. Some of them right in high school. Mm-hmm. So we talking about 10, 12-year-olds, and it's like, man, y'all got practically teenagers. Well, y'all got teenagers
right
not now, and man, if I have a kid now, who my kids gonna grow? My kids grow. My friends, kids. They
right.
That's a whole generation away.
Right.
Me being in my, I guess I'm in my late 30s now. Yeah, I guess my almost late 30s. It's like there are more and more women who don't want to have more kids because of being closer to 40 and whatnot. And it's like, damn, I feel like I'm being punished for waiting. All this time I've been taught or grown up, don't have a child out of wedlock and all this type of stuff. And that wasn't the only reason, because I can't say that I was 100% responsible every time I engaged in some copulation. However,
right, me too.
I was more careful than not. Hence, I don't have any children now. And it's like, am I out of luck? Am I out of luck right now? Because then it's like, you can get a younger chick. I'm like, what I'm gonna do with a 20-something-year-old? I'm almost
right.
40 is closer than 20 is, or than 25. So I'm like, what I'm gonna do right now? So I've had those thoughts.
Okay, well, I'm glad I don't feel alone in that, because I lost it for a minute. I was told up about that. I'm like, because I always saw that as one of my good qualities, that I, that I was responsible and all that. And then I started thinking, why was I so damn responsible? So I'm glad now, though. I'm glad now, because I'm where I'm supposed to be,
I'm glad that I didn't have with certain individuals.
Right.
There are a couple that I wouldn't have minded, but there's certain, and no, I wouldn't just to pull out method, because not only do I not have any children, I do not have any gifts that I can spread around to the world.
Right.
So it's definitely not just been the pull and pray. Now, if it was I was in my relationship, that's something different. Yeah, it definitely was. I was Dominique Dawes with the dismount, in my relationship. But
how old is Plan B?
I don't know, man. Who is it? Margaret Thatcher, or what his name is? Margaret something.
Yeah,
for Planned Parenthood. Margaret.
No, Plan B, the pill that you can.
But it came out of Planned Parenthood. That's what I'm thinking about.
Oh, okay. Is it that old? Is it Brian?
Yeah, it was the morning after pill.
Morning after, right? That's what they called it.
And then Plan B, and then Next Choice, and it's got so many different. I can't lie that I have bought a couple in my day. I've gone half on a couple.
You know what? I've bought it, but I've never had the girl do it, and.
Oh no, we agreed. We're gonna have on this pill. Yeah, we're gonna go for half.
Yeah. Does it work if you put it in a smoothie?
Really?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm just messing with you. Hey, Maurice just came in the chat room.
Let's go and change that topic.
Maurice is in the chat.
No, you are not alone in that particular thought. But I'm not upset that I do think about it now. Like, yo, if I would have had, because I see people with like almost 13-year-olds,
Right,
and it's
right,
just like, yo, you got like a whole person that you can like kick it with, which
right.
I do want the experience from the beginning, from conception to the exiting the celestial portal to bringing into this world and all. Like I want that whole thing, but sometimes it seems a little bleak the more time passes.
You know what though? I tell you, I've become a sap over seeing anything with, especially a father and their son or their daughter. I've just been totally a sap with when it comes to that kind of stuff. So like when I see Brother Ryan and his son, and that just moves me, to see what a great relationship they have and all that kind of stuff. Because I think it makes me think about my relationship with my father, the kind of relationship I want to have with any child that I bring into this world as well. So, and I'm glad to see, I'm glad to see such great role models like Ryan. And even though Stephanie is a woman, I see her with her son.
She handles her business.
She does, definitely. And I'm sure I don't want to leave anybody out. Jen and her kids, and it makes me feel like, what, the issues I had in the past, I think I'm ready, to go. Maybe not today. Give me like about a month or two to, get rid of some stuff. But, but.
I mean, you go ahead and plant the seed today. You got 9 months to go ahead.
All right, I got 9 months to get my shit together.
And sometimes we just need to change our habits, because
right.
I think that, if we're sitting in our rooms all day on the computer, or, doing whatever it is, going to work and coming home and not, like sometimes you just need to switch up the flow. Because like going to the gym, working out or whatever, that totally changes the energy, the vibe, and it,
1 month.
Because like I think that like when you're at a certain age and you want to have a kid and you want to have a family, sometimes we get to a certain point where we don't want to do nothing. We don't want to work out. We don't want to eat healthy. We don't want to elevate ourselves or change our situations, but we want someone new to come in. So I think it's kind of a give and take in that situation, because like wanting a kid and wanting a family, like no one can change that feeling. But what are you willing to do to get to that point as well? Because when you say rushing into a relationship or rushing to find love, it's like really you should be rushing to develop yourself and rushing to to elevate yourself to a certain degree. Can I mention one thing? Because Stephanie has been poking me through the comments. She said I claimed that I don't want to have that I didn't want to have a relationship last week. Okay, so I just wanted to say, like, yeah, I'm in a relationship, but that was a relationship that I just changed the status on my Facebook, because I've been talking to someone that I just want, to just see. I don't want to be in an open relationship or anything like that, but I'm still taking my time. Like I'm taking my time with that person, because like I just don't want to make the same mistakes that I made in the last. I've been really bad, really bad these last couple of years. Just trying, because I got a business. I want to settle down. I want to work-life balance, and the more I wanted those things, the more it just made my relationships, kind of fall apart, because I rushed into things too much. So this time, I said that last month, and I still believe in that. I don't want to settle down too quickly without making sure that, things work and that the relationship's built. Like what I was saying earlier in this live stream is coming from my experience. Like you have to really develop a relationship with that person, and that's just, out of all the failures that I've had, I think that's where I've come to, you know. So I just want to clarify that.
No,
not just getting into a relationship and, you know, and doing what I did before and letting everyone know who and putting my business out there because it's so damaging.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, man, I wish you all the success in the world. And you know, like I said, I really, really, sometimes I do these shows for therapy, you know, so I'm trying to get at something myself. So, but I want to thank you, fine people, for coming on the program tonight. And remember, I want y'all to remember, next week we will be on 30 minutes early. And then after that, we're going to have a great discussion, great panel. Me and Dr. Vibe, and we're going to be talking about does Christianity interfere with Black empowerment? And this is not going to be no church bashing type thing. So, you know, I think that, you know, I grew up in the church. My grandfather was a pastor, minister, and you know, so and I cherish the time that I feel like the church helped make me into a man. So, but you know, there's some things I feel like we need to talk about. And then, the following week, we'll have all the ladies panel. So that should be really cool too. So, with that said, we'll start off with you, Ryan. How can we get you in social media and how can we check out your programs?
At Hustle Zone TV, just go to, we're now on Spotify, iTunes, Switcher, or Stitcher or something like that.
Stitcher, yeah.
Acast, Google Podcasts. If you type in, we have one podcast that's going on right now, but I got two others that are pending. One is called Go Live and Prosper. You'll be able to hear, it's my podcast for my business, but we talk about entrepreneurs. It's not necessarily Afrocentric. It's just, you know what I mean? It's my podcast. I'm bringing everyone on, but you guys will be able to find Hustle Zone TV. And then there's another one that's going to be about Black history, Black empowerment and whatnot. So make sure to follow us at Hustle Zone and Hustle Zone TV. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and all the major social medias like Twitter.
All right. Shannon, how can we get you in social media and all that good stuff?
Social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Shannon Ford like the president, Jefferson like the president.
All right. And you can get me at Kinte F on Twitter, Kinte Ferguson, that's Fergerson, on Instagram. And of course, the website is indyradio.org. That's INDY radio.org. And we'll be back, like I said, 30 minutes early, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, for the placeholder boyfriend/girlfriend. So that's next week. So, all right. With that said, you guys have a beautiful week. God bless you. And, you know, go Kansas City.